of perception. What I believe he talks about in the video is that art almost seems like the first step in design, where there's no limitations. It's just the artist and their work. Just, you don't have to worry about the problems of the job or anything like that. You're just going creatively, freely, and creating. But at the same time, my argument with that would be that there is also always a client involved, regardless of what you're making. I mean, whether you're the client, if you show it to anyone else, they also influence the work. That's something that several of my instructors said before, Barry especially. He was like, the only true art is art that you are the only one to view. You make it alone, you hide it in the closet, and no one ever sees it, because the minute anyone else sees it, it also becomes their art. It's not just your art.
So mine is covering digital fabrication and prototyping, and I'm going to start with the importance of prototyping. It's much different being able to design something on a computer by hand to be actually able to hold something. I feel like some huge points of design. Maybe not necessarily with buildings per se, but there's things you can do like mock-ups for that. I know most of you guys have watched Objectified. I couldn't find the clip that I was searching for, but there was one where they made a prototype of these trimmers that they were just wanting to hold that in the hand and wanted to make sure that it has a good feel to it and that it's not hurting your wrist when cutting. And that's something that I feel a lot of designers forsake just for the chance of having aesthetic purpose. With the Richard Myers Getty, I saw a documentary in a class, I'm sure you guys have all seen that as well, in building technologies, where he wants to see how this light is going to react. So he makes a smaller scale mock-up where he can fit inside this small room just to see how that light is going to hit in that space. And that's something that you kind of get the idea of with digital modeling, but you really need to have some sort of physical piece to do that. Fabrication importance, just digital fabrication, it's allowing the new age of letting people express themselves and be able to make physical models of it just to know what they're doing, how they're expressing themselves, and knowing that they're going in the right directions. What I don't like about digital fabrication is when people start to allow the machine to design for them. I feel like that's becoming a very big problem. They don't see how far they can push the machine. They know the limits of what they think of the limits of the machine, and their limited view of what machines can do.
Alright, so mine is going to be, it's going to be a quick presentation and then about a 6-minute video. More like a combination of the future in general and future art and design. Alright, so again, what does it look like? We're all forefront. We're all going to be a part of deciding what this future looks like. And my main concern is it already chosen for us? So the views from the past dictating what we're going to do in the future just because we think that's what it's supposed to look like already. First people that did it, the Jetsons. How many people were like, all right, we're going to have flying cars, treadmills in midair, floating around, architecture that's crazy. It was aired in 1962 and based in 2062. Do you think we can have that capability in 50 years? Were they that far off, or were they that far going? I mean, obviously they have cars that looks like a Prius. I mean, they were pretty close. So I mean, it's interesting to see like what people thought back in 1962 that haven't come this far. Back to the Future. This kind of just shows how dated things are and how quickly time can pass without us realizing. They go back to 1955, and that seems like an eternity. But if he went back now in 2012, he'd only be going back to 1982, which is really freaking close to when we're all born. So it's kind of weird like that. iRobot, I just watched this last night to get a preview about it again, but it takes place in 2035. Like, that's not very far off at all. We will all see that. And these ridiculously, I mean, they're awesome buildings. This is the skyline of Chicago in 2035. But are we going to be designing for that? Are we going to be looking to do things like that, or are we going to be thinking outside the box and dictating what we want to do ourselves? Does anyone remember Fifth Element? This is, 2250. I love how the architecture is all classic buildings, like New York right now, but we have flying hover cars on every single level. And then, really the outfits. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near that anytime soon. Ray Kurzweil, I sent you guys a TED talk about him, but in general, he is the forefather of singularity, and that just means it's tough. It needs technology and human beings and levels and eras where we go further on in the future than we ever thought possible. This man is so confident in the future that he is taking pills and just trying to live another 60 years. He's already 60, so he doesn't miss out on being technically just, he'll live forever. That's his goal. He's invented so many things that we use every day, and he's kind of crazy, but crazy in a really scary, awkward, good way. A lot of predictions he's made have come true. And so, do people like Ray Kurzweil control our future, or is he right? Do we kind of go off his predictions, or again, do we go our own? So I have Microsoft Future Vision. This is more of what Microsoft sees as like the next 20 years, and I thought it was really interesting. I've sent a few videos like this. So here we go. And it's like a life in a day of just a businesswoman who's traveling. Everything is interactive, everything works with each other, everything's personalized. Her glasses translate the sign, so language is no longer a barrier wherever you travel. Everything inside the car telling her how long it is till her destination. Her iPhone able to do floating holograms. Everything's super interactive. And for me as a graphic designer, that's a daunting task. Do I have to be able to come up with that? Do I have to design just like that? It's like, I know that's my favorite font, but who knows, all right, I have to program that, I have to learn the program, how to code it. A business card sized piece of digital sheet that you flip it into something else, even though it's easier. So yeah, it's Microsoft's vision of the future. And I think it's easier for us to not be so, caring if it's like Fifth Element and it's 2250 and you see those ridiculous outfits and that's the future. But something like this, Microsoft's product, I could see that happening in 10 years, 20 years, and that'd be no problem. But my question is, do we see that as a threat? Do we find that to be more of, it's already chosen for us? Do we have to design like that? Do our architecture buildings have to look like that? Does my design have to flow like that? And I think that's a really big question for